is Skedline. I'm Christian Holmes, and here's what's making news now. This just in, Toronto police have placed 7 schools in Scarborough under a hold and secure after reports of shots fired. We will give you updates on this breaking news story as we get them. Moving on to other news. To convict or acquit United States President Donald Trump? That is the question senators are asking themselves today when they vote on the verdict for the 2 articles of impeachment. Those articles being abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Experts say the outcome is a foregone conclusion. Senate Republicans have a 53-47 majority in the chamber, and so far, no Republicans have said they will vote to remove the president from office. A 2/3 majority is required for conviction. The acquittal vote will mark the end of a historic 4-month impeachment proceedings that began in September with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announcing the inquiry into the president. This came after allegations that Trump had withheld his security aid while persuading Ukraine to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. The House made Trump the third president to be impeached in December by passing the 2 articles of impeachment without Republican votes. Trump had other things on his mind last night. This year's State of the Union will be one to be remembered. If elections are won by defiant showmanship alone, Donald Trump is expected to waltz his way to a second term in November. In Tuesday's State of the Union address, President Trump heralded what he called a blue-collar boom. With his impeachment trial in the Senate nearly behind him, Trump boasted about the great American comeback, telling those in Congress about his great economic gains, tax cuts, and fair trade deals. Republicans applauded Trump's remarks, but not everybody was crafty. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, ripped up President Trump's speech at the conclusion of the State of the Union. That came after President Trump did not shake hands with her as he was entering the room. Pelosi told reporters as she was leaving the Capitol that Trump's speech was, quote, a manifesto of mistruths. That comment was backed up by fact checkers finding 31 lies and exaggerations in Trump's State of the Union address. Staying with U.S. politics, Skedline reporter Jacob White is in New Hampshire covering the lead up to the primaries next Tuesday. Earlier today, I talked to him about how politicians are campaigning and what is happening in Iowa. With me today is Jacob White. He is a Skedline reporter who is currently in New Hampshire. Thanks for joining us today, Jacob.
Yeah, no problem, Christian.
So let's get right into this. My first question for you is, can you describe what's going on in New Hampshire right now?
All right, so right now what we've got is a bunch of candidates are doing a bunch of events all across the state. So far, me and the Skedline team down here have hit a couple of them. Basically in all different locations. We've had a couple in smaller bar venues. We've had a couple in big arenas, big stadiums. We're trying to hit as many as we can. Overall, most of the candidates seem generally happy with the way their campaign is going so far. They're enjoying, have a good interaction with the people they're talking to. And the support seems to be there. A lot of the places have been completely filled with people sitting around. There's a bunch of signs, people getting really enthusiastic about the campaign. So it's going quite well.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear. What are most politicians focusing their campaign around as they lead up into next week?
So a couple of the central issues that some of these campaigns have been hitting on is one of the big ones has been healthcare. Healthcare has definitely been a big one. There's different ways of trying to address it, or they're trying to address it. There are people like Bernie Sanders, who's got the full Medicare for All plan. some other candidates. I went to a rally yesterday with Amy Klobuchar, and she was saying that they need a plan that's not a pipe dream. So it's sort of subtle shots here and there at the different candidates' campaigns and their ideas. So another big issue other than that has been housing. Housing was an issue that came up today. We just finished up with an Elizabeth Warren rally. She was talking about trying to get 3 million new homes built for Americans. That's affordable housing. So that's been a big one. And I think another one that's come up has been the economy. People worried about how to get the middle class up and going and keeping up with the rest. And there's been different ways of addressing that. Elizabeth Warren today just talked about having a 2-cent wealth tax added on so that these companies and these rich top 1%ers would pay their fair share. But yeah, those are the top priorities for these candidates right now.
All right, that's very interesting. And I understand you were in Iowa on Monday for their caucus. Can you explain what exactly happened?
So at the Iowa caucus, I personally myself wasn't there. We were just in New Hampshire. But for the Iowa caucus, basically what it boiled down to is the Democratic Party there was trying out this new app that would send in, you'd be able to put the information into an app, and then that would send off to the Democratic Party. And they said, ironically, before this all happened, that this was going to be a faster and more effective way of getting the results out to people. Unfortunately, that did not happen. There's been a big crash with the app. It took a very long time to get any information out. They were polling at 0% at precincts reporting. It was a very slow process. It took up until the next day, and there still wasn't anything until around yesterday at 5, where they had got to around 61% of precincts reporting. We're not fully sure if we've got all of them yet, but we're still trying to get as much information as possible, as well as the campaigns. And then just tying it back into what the candidates were talking about, most of them seem to have been moving on to New Hampshire. A couple of them start off their rallies by addressing what had happened in Iowa, but not many of them are dwelling on it. A lot of them just say they want to move forward. They want to let the process play out as it may. So far, what they have is Pete Buttigieg has got 10 delegates, as well as Bernie Sanders also has 10 delegates, and Elizabeth Warren, who we just saw today, has 4. That still isn't enough for the amount of delegates. There's still around, let's see, like 20 some odd delegates left to be dialed out. So we're still waiting on that, still trying to get full information for it.
All right, my final question to you is there any reaction in New Hampshire from Iowa or any of the potential voters worried about something similar happening there, or are they just focus on other things?
I think as of right now, most people in New Hampshire aren't really that focused on what happened in Iowa. There hasn't been that much complaint about if this is going to happen here again. They feel that since this is primary and not a caucus, it's a different method, so there'll be more paper ballots, similar to see what you'd see in a Canadian election. So they're not too worried about having that similar process happen again. And just like as the candidates, as I said already, the candidates are focused on getting just moving on to New Hampshire. So are the people. They don't really care that much about what happened in Iowa. They just want to see their candidate do well here in New Hampshire.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Jacob. Safe travels to you and your team, and we look forward to more of the content coming from you guys in New Hampshire.
Great. Thank you very much, Christian.
A quick update. Vice is reporting that prominent Republican Mitt Romney will be voting to convict Donald Trump on the Senate floor. For more coverage, check out skedline.com. Now, a new development in the coronavirus outbreak. A cruise operator says 251 Canadians are aboard a quarantined ship where there's been a confirmed outbreak of coronavirus off the coast of Japan. None of the Canadian passengers have tested positive for the virus during the first days of screening. So far, 10 people from the ship have tested positive for coronavirus and have been taken ashore to hospital. Japan took protective measures to prevent the spread of the disease on Tuesday, ordering the quarantine of all 3,700 people on the ship for at least 2 weeks at Yokohama, near Tokyo. Moving over to Canadian news. The Trans Mountain Pipeline had a major victory on Tuesday. The Federal Court of Appeal rejected claims by several First Nations that federal officials failed to adequately consult with them on the Trans Mountain Pipeline. That removed the final major barrier hanging over the long-delayed project. The decision also sought to establish a firm line against Indigenous claims they should have a veto over major natural resource projects deemed to be in the public's interest. The judges ruled that, quote, reconciliation did not dictate any particular outcome on a given resource project. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney applauded the legal process, saying it built upon a string of legal and regulatory announcements in recent weeks that have been supportive of the major pipeline project. Trans Mountain Court says a majority of the pipeline's detailed route has been approved, while construction is underway in 2 critical sections of the pipeline. Moving to local news. A man in his early 20s is dead after he was shot early Wednesday morning outside a bar along the Danforth. Police say they arrived to find the man lying on the sidewalk without vital signs. He was suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. An officer attempted to perform CPR but could not revive him. He was rushed to a hospital trauma center where he was later pronounced dead. A detective said they are looking for up to 3 males wearing dark clothing who fled the scene in a car. Now to Jacob Brooks with sports.
Thanks, Christian. I'm Jacob Brooks, and here's what's making sports news today. The Humber Hawks women's basketball team is playing the Redeemers tomorrow night. The team took home a win in their last game against Niagara with a score of 95-55. The Hawks' last game against Redeemer was on the road in October and opened the season with a 98-69 win. The game will begin at 6 p.m. and can be streamed live on the Hawks News Network. In other Hawks news, the men's volleyball team is ranked first in Week 11. The team is on a 14-game win streak, putting them on par with their 99 season. The team will be traveling to Sudbury on the weekend for a game against the Boreal Vipers on Saturday and another against the Cambrian Golden Shield on Sunday. In NBA news, the Toronto Raptors are set to break an all-time winning streak tonight. The team has faced a number of setbacks this year, including a slew of player injuries, as well as losing top players Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green in the summer. Their game against the Indiana Pacers tonight could put them at 12 wins in a row, breaking the 11-game streak that they initially set in the 2015-2016 season. Staying on the Raptors, President Masai Ujiri's time with the team could be coming to an end. After taking the position in 2013, there has been talk suggesting that Ujiri could be jumping ship to the New York Knicks. This rumor comes following 4 years of speculation that Ujiri was eyeing the position, but with previous Knicks president Steve Mills having been let go this week, the switch is looking more likely than ever. Moving on to NHL news, the Leafs will be playing the Rangers in New York tonight. Netminder Frederik Andersen will be sitting the game out while he recovers from a neck injury he suffered during the game against the Panthers on Monday. Michael Hutchinson will be filling in for Andersen in New York while he recovers. There was lots of action in the NHL over the last few nights for Canadian teams. Montreal Canadiens took a win against the New Jersey Devils last night with a score of 5-4. Ilya Kovalchuk secured the win with the only shootout of the game. This might spark new hope for the Canadiens, who were trailing by 3 goals before they flipped the script and emerged victorious. Moving on, the Canucks suffered defeat in Boston, losing to the Bruins 0-4. The Ottawa Senators also took a loss last night against the Anaheim Ducks with a score of 2-3. Calgary Flames lost to the San Jose Sharks with a final score of 1-3, and finishing off last night's scores, the Winnipeg Jets lost 1-2 to the Nashville Predators. In MLB news, the Red Sox, Dodgers, and Twins have agreed to a 3-way trade on Tuesday night. The biggest change to come from the trade will be Mookie Betts moving to the Dodgers after 6 years with the Red Sox. The Dodgers will also get left-hander David Price from Boston, while the Red Sox will get Alex Verdugo and Brusdar Graterol. The Twins will be getting Kenta Maeda from the Dodgers. And now to Nimrit Singh with entertainment news.
Thanks, Jacob. For entertainment news, I'm Nimrit Singh. Pop star Katy Perry has been named by Britain's Prince Charles as an ambassador of the British Asian Trust charity. The prince made the announcement yesterday. He said Perry will help the organization in its fight against child trafficking. Perry, who is already a goodwill ambassador for United Nations children's organization UNICEF, met the British heir to throne at a meeting of the Trust supporters and advisors in Mumbai last November while he was on a visit to India. Madonna is urging Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, not to move to Canada because of its, quote, so boring there. The couple announced in January they would be stepping down as senior members of the royal family and said they would be moving to Canada to continue their family life, raising 9-month-old son, Archie. The 61-year-old singer is offering the couple to stay at her apartment in New York City because she thinks it is more exciting than Canada. Shannon Dorothy reveals that her breast cancer diagnosis has returned. During an interview with ABC News, which aired Tuesday on Good Morning America, Dorothy said she's at stage 4, adding that it's a bitter pill to swallow in a lot of ways. Dorothy was initially diagnosed back in March 2015 and has been in remission for the last few years. The Arkells have a message about local news and they want their followers to pay attention and pay money. Do the right thing and support local journalism was the band's Good Morning message. If you're an engaged member of your community, you're probably thankful for the people who report the news. The Hamilton Band posted the message Tuesday to their website and to social media with a bonus, a free band shirt with the purchase of an annual news subscription. Jennifer Lopez and Shakira's Super Bowl halftime show is still a hot topic. 4 days after their halftime show, pop sensation Shakira and J-Lo are still controversial online. Some say the performance was inappropriate for a family show. Others say the showstopper was a political statement and a tribute to the Latin community and cultures. The performance made a subtle nod to the current political climate in the United States. One sequence in the show featured children in illuminated pods that looked like cages. It was an apparent reference to U.S. immigration enforcement under President Donald Trump that put mostly Latin American boys and girls in cells. At one point in the show, Shakira looked straight into the camera and wiggled her tongue while making a sound. While this gesture left some fans puzzled, Shakira was actually nodding at her Lebanese heritage. The 92nd Academy Awards is this Sunday at 8 p.m. The Oscars will take place at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood, California. Now back to Christian to wrap up the show.
Thanks, Nimrit. Now to update on the shooting that we were talking about earlier in the cast. Thank you. Sorry, folks, there was a technical issue here. To update the hold and secure at the 7 Scarborough schools we reported at the top of the cast, Toronto police are responding to reports of a shooting. The Emergency Task Force and K-9 unit are responding to Cedarburg Collegiate Institute at Markham Road and Lawrence Avenue East. Bullet holes were found in a car at Cedarburg. Parents and families are asked to go to a cathedral area, the Cedar Barrel Library's parking lot. Toronto police described the suspect as a black male with a slim build. The suspect is between 18 and 20 years old, 5 foot 10 inches tall. He is wearing a red sweatshirt and black toque. Please ask anyone with information to call 1-800 or 1-808-4300. That concludes today's newscast. For more in-depth coverage, head over to skedline.com. For Skedline, I'm Christian Holmes. Thanks for watching. That went share.